It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David and News Editor Philip Catalfamo as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics in Yavapai County that affect all our lives. And now here's today's Countywide.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Countywide. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo. I'd like to thank you for joining me. On today's show, we are talking Thanksgiving, Christmas, holiday safety tips, and my guest in studio today is Cottonwood Fire Inspector John Wesbrock. Mr. Wesbrock, welcome onto the program.
Thank you very much for having me, Philip. Appreciate it.
We have had so many great representatives from Cottonwood Fire come on this program and talk about this particular topic here. Obviously, we're getting very, very close to the start of Thanksgiving and bleeding into, of course, the Christmas time, which is my favorite time of the year. And, the weather changes. We're already seeing that here in Cottonwood. It's a very, very exciting time. This time of the season is one of my favorites. But, of course, a very dangerous time, as every time of the year is or can be. I thought we'd start off with just winter travel tips to start the show off. Just kind of we're getting from our house and going to the in-laws. How do we go from point A to point B? What are some winter driving safety tips that you have? What are some things that people should have in their vehicles? And just sort of in general, what are some tips you have there?
Sure. Anytime you're going to travel for the holidays, and this year, with the pandemic starting to lift those restrictions, we're going to see a lot more traveling. So the highways are going to be much busier this year than we've seen in past years. And so with that traveling, you want to make sure that your vehicle is ready to do so. Make sure you don't have any leaks, the oil's up, your tires are all at the correct pressure, and you want to carry some items with you because I-17 is getting busier and busier. There's been more and more accidents on that highway, restricting or shutting down traffic, so there's lots of delays that you could see, and the weather's only going to increase that. So you're going to want to carry maybe some water, some snacks with you that you could have if you're going to be alongside the road. You want to make sure you carry a warm blanket with you, and make sure that you have your cell phone charged, so if an accident does happen, you have access to that phone to call the resources to come and help you. There's lots of resources available. 511, the ADOT number to call to find out if there's any restrictions on any of the highways, or any accidents or detours that you should be aware of. And then get a heads up on the weather. So if there's a big storm coming in the night before your travel plans, maybe alter your plans a little bit. Try to travel during the daytime hours, or visibility is a little bit better, and you're easier to locate if you do have an issue that comes up.
Can we talk about maybe some of those issues that might pop up? Of course, on the highways, despite, of course, the possibility of rain and snow, obviously, again, don't park your vehicles in tall grass. Despite the wetter conditions, things are still relatively dry out there. And if you're traveling during the day when there hasn't been rain in a few days, things are going to be very dry. But I want to talk a little bit about, some things that you could possibly run across outside of accidents like black ice or just driving in snow in general. Do you have any tips just kind of navigating what you could come across on the roadway while you're traveling?
Well, anytime you come across ice or even wet conditions, this year's been fantastic for rain for us with the monsoons, but whenever you get that first rain or that first ice, that oil starts to come to the surface and those roads become very slick. And the same with ice. So anytime you have those weather conditions change from a beautiful sunny day like we're used to, you want to take and reduce your speed. You want to increase their distance between you and other vehicles. And you want to be constantly looking for an escape route, is what I call it. So if there is a danger in front of you, if this car goes to the left or right, or if there's an object that comes up that is going to cause me to react, I want to know where I can react. Is the left side of the road, the shoulder there, or is it the right side of the road in the lane that I'm traveling in? So those are some of the biggest things that I would always recommend to folks. Just slow down, enjoy the season, enjoy your drive to see your family, get there safely.
What about snow tires or tire chains? Is it getting close to that time of the year where maybe to start considering those? Are they utilized as much as they once were? Am I dating myself by mentioning tire chains? I'm not sure if we've gotten to the technology where tires are kind of all-purpose now. I drive an old Ford Focus that has tires from the garbage dump, so I mean, I'm just curious. And tires are very important. So are we getting close to that time of the year we should be starting to consider that?
That's a great question. There's not a lot of apps for that yet, that we can't hit our phone and magically make our tires heat up.
I
and
wish
melt
we
snow,
could.
right? For sure. But yes, there are some requirements that when you start traveling up north, that you might be required to have snow chains. You might need to have cables or snow tires. So down here in the Verde Valley, we don't really see a lot of snow. But if you're traveling up toward Flagstaff, that's a real possibility. So kind of have an idea of where you're traveling, what state you're going to, what the weather's going to look like there, and maybe look up on their websites. Look in Colorado to see what their requirements are if a snowstorm does come up. Is it snow chains? Is it cables? Is it tires? Is it four-wheel drive? So kind of do your research beforehand before you get yourself in that situation. And if you have snow chains or cables, please learn how to put them on appropriately and make sure they're safe. I've been on lots of accidents where chains have come off of semi-trucks, went through windshields, and caused significant amount of injuries to both people and property. And that's a simple thing. Take 10 or 15 minutes, read the directions, put them on before you're alongside the highway or before you need to do it in those adverse weather conditions.
I always had an irrational fear of a blown tire going through the windshield because of a Mythbusters episode I watched, and now you can add chains to that fear as well. Thank you very much, John.
You're welcome.
If you want any more direct information about Cottonwood Fire, cottonwoodaz.gov is the website. Their phone number is 928-634-2741. Of course, if you are in an emergency, please dial 911. But if for any non-emergency questions, again, 928-634-2741. All right, so we're at the in-laws, and we've got a plan now to go hiking. Obviously, we're getting a lot cooler here in Cottonwood. We've got a couple more minutes just before we head to our first break. I wanted to touch upon winter hiking safety. I talk to you guys all the time about rescues that happen, obviously speaking more with Sedona Fire about things in their area, but rescues happen during the wintertime where people are hiking in areas they're not prepared for. So I just thought before we head to our first break, let's touch upon some of those winter hiking safety tips.
Yeah, and that's funny you mentioned Sedona. Sedona runs a significant amount of hike outs or stranded hikers. We're starting to see an uptake in that here in Cottonwood too. So we have a beautiful, beautiful community with lots of trails and outdoor activities for people to explore. And so I think the biggest thing that I could say is do some self-reflection time and make sure that you're in shape to tackle the hike that you want to tackle. We see a lot of folks that come from the valley that want to go on a trail that might be longer than they expected, that might be more difficult, more technical. And when you go out on that and you're not prepared for those types of hikes, you pose there's a possibility that you could get hurt. And so to try and help that, make sure you're in the shape or condition that you can, the best condition you can be to take out on those hikes. Now you can take some stuff with you. We always suggest taking a backpack. Do your research, do your due diligence to try and research the trail that you're going to go and the trail that you're going to go on. Take a backpack, take plenty of water. Cottonwood is beautiful right now this time of year during the daytimes, but as the sun sets behind Mingus, temperatures drop significantly, and those temperature extremes can really have an impact on how our body reacts if we're not used to that. So take some sweatshirts, take a space blanket to make sure that if you do become stranded out there and have an injury, you have the ability to stay warm until help can get there. Take a whistle. Take a GPS with you and make sure you have batteries. Charge your cell phone up again. Everybody has all these apps on their cell phone. They know exactly where they're at. Make sure the GPS is enabled on it so that if you do have to call for help, you can give the dispatch center your GPS location, so then we have a pinpoint location on where to find you. So.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue talking about holiday safety with my guest today, Cottonwood Fire Inspector John Wesbrock. We'll talk about Thanksgiving and Christmas safety on the other side of this break. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Who doesn't dream of home improvements? Perhaps your kitchen, the real living room. Maybe the bathroom, where you bookend your day. Langstrand Contracting is your one-stop shop from tear down to finishing touches. With 35 years of experience, Chris and his team will work with you to match your family's style and budget. Call Langstrand Contracting today for guidance in bringing your vision to life.
Award-winning Soundbites Grill is an entertainment restaurant located in Uptown Sedona at the Hyatt Pinion Point Resort. Open for lunch and dinner, featuring fresh fish, all-natural hand-cut beef, even a full vegan menu. Family friendly, open 11:30 to 9. Late dining on Friday and Saturday. Soundbites Grill has some of the best views of the Sedona Red Rocks. Offers world-class entertainment, food, fun, and music.
The mouth is the gateway to the digestive system. Studies indicate a correlation between oral health and full body health. Regular cleanings and checkups can help protect you. New patients are welcome at Arizona Smile Designers in Cottonwood. There's a full smile worth of services all offered under one roof. Whitening and cosmetic to implants and smile reconstruction. Find out more or request an appointment online at azsmiledesigners.com.
Terrifying job. Snake handler, take one.
James, this is a really terrifying job. Given the hazards, why do you do it?
I've been fascinated by reptiles since I was a child.
Tell me about your little friend there.
So this is Bear Hug. He's a Burmese python. We have him here at the Phoenix Zoo.
It kind of makes my skin crawl. Is there anything that rattles you?
Yeah, distracted drivers terrify me.
I want to welcome you back to Countywide. I am your host, Philip Catafamo. On today's show, we are talking holiday safety in general, Christmas, Thanksgiving, traveling, winter hiking. We talked about winter traveling tips in the first segment, if you missed it, along with some hiking tips while you're out enjoying the colder weather here in northern Arizona. But now, in my fictional scenario, it is Thanksgiving at the in-laws now, and a lot goes on during Thanksgiving. A lot of cooking, a lot of hazards, potential hazards. So I thought let's just generally, what are some kind of broad Thanksgiving do's and don'ts and some tips you have for the public?
Okay, yeah, Thanksgiving is definitely family oriented, especially since we were talking at the break about how many families will more than likely be coming together for the first time that they've seen each other in quite a significant period of time or amount of time. And ironically, the one place that everybody hangs out at Thanksgiving is in the kitchen. So you'll have your entire family in there cooking. And so while that is a great time to share some family time and get to know everybody, there are times when you are cooking that many people in the kitchen could become a hazard. The fire department across the country per NFPA, they run about 172,000 and change fire calls during the year that result in 550 plus deaths from kitchen fires, and we're rolling into the holiday season where that is. So when we're in the kitchen, we want to make sure that if we're cooking, we move all those flammable things or potential things that can cause catch on fire. So those are your hand towels, a hand towel that you're using to maybe dry off your utensils as you're using them. My mom always throws it over her shoulder because she knows where it's at all the time, and so a lot of times it'll get set down, and if you set it too close to the fire or something that's cooking, that is an ignition source and a potential for a fire. So make sure those are cleared off. Make sure if you're not using an electronic device, or that toaster oven or that coffee pot that you have next to the stove, make sure you unplug it. Make sure that all your ground fault receptacles are working in your kitchen, so that if something does happen with that appliance, that coffee maker, that toaster, that crock pot, that it'll blow that circuit and de-energize that appliance. You also want to make sure that when you're cooking on the stove top, that you want to turn the handles in. The best thing about the holidays is the kids. Kids see the world in such a beautiful way that it's refreshing, and we want them to be part of that. We want them to be with their grandparents and their parents in the kitchen sharing that moment or that time, but we want to also make sure that we're maintaining at least a 3-foot area where they're not getting close to those hot surfaces. They're not to the stove top. They're not in there when the stove opens up. And we want to make sure that our pets are out of the kitchen as well during that time. We love our pets, but they are a trip fall hazard. So, and then, enjoy your time together. Enjoy your time that you have, and don't be one of those statistics that you have an injury during the holidays. Again, the last thing I would say is probably the most significant is make sure you have a fire extinguisher. and know where it's at. I mean, a lot of us have fire extinguishers that we bought maybe in the 1960s or 70s that's been passed on to us as like an heirloom. But go ahead and spend the extra money and have a functioning fire extinguisher in your home, because if something does pop up, small fires can be put out really quickly. And if anybody would like any information on how to do that or how to utilize those fire extinguishers, they can contact us at our website or call us up, and we'll be more than happy to come and put on a demonstration and teach you and show you how to use those.
The website is up on the screen for those watching on Verde Valley TV, but for those listening on KYBC and KVRD, cottonwoodaz.gov is the website. 928-634-2741 is their phone number. Just real kind of briefly, what type of fire extinguisher should they have in their home? I know there's a couple different types.
Yes, an ABC fire extinguisher is the perfect. So that way it can be used on any normal combustible materials, so a towel catches on fire. And it'll also work on any other kind of fires that'll pop up or you might find in the kitchen.
I love the family heirloom fire extinguisher.
Yes, everybody's got one.
Generation to generation. Very, very fun. But just kind of moving a little bit more in with the Thanksgiving, frying turkeys obviously is a big thing that people like to do. I still have yet to have fried turkey. I hear it's really good. I've never had it. We've never cooked it in my house. I've never been over to friends' houses who have made it. So I'd love to have that opportunity at some point, but I'd love to know how to do it properly and safely. So can we just talk briefly about some of the safety tips with that as well?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you want to make sure your turkey's thawed. Yeah. If you dump a frozen turkey into hot boiling oil, bad things happen, right? And so if you are going to take and fry turkey is very, very good. I say we used to have some Thanksgiving dinners at the station where we'd fry a turkey. But you want to make sure you're far away from any kind of combustibles. So you don't want to be next to plywood or your wood pile or your cardboard, anything that oil will take and splash up on, and that includes your yard. So if you're doing it in your yard and you have a bunch of grass, or even if you have the synthetic grass that's green all the time, you want to make sure that you're not doing it on that. Do it on gravel where you have a nice clear area, because that oil will take and splash. Make sure you're using the appropriate propane for that. A lot of times we use our turkey fryer once a year at this time, maybe at Christmas as well. But when that hose is coiled up in our ever-changing weather, when it sits there and gets hot, those hoses get brittle. Those hoses can crack. And if that cracks, that's a way for that propane or that gas to escape there. And when you go to light it, that could be a bad situation. So that hose can leak that fuel and become ignited and cause burns or a catastrophic injury. So make sure that's all functioning properly as well. And again, make sure you have that fire extinguisher close by.
Family heirloom fire extinguisher, of course. John, we got just a couple minutes before we head to break. I want to hit real briefly Christmas time. I know we're still a little ways away from December 25th, but just real quick, what are some very simple Christmas tips that some people should know as they start to decorate their houses and transition from Thanksgiving into the Christmas holiday?
Well, holiday lights are wonderful. They're beautiful. We all like to see them. They do pose a fire threat. When you take the old halogen lights, they generate heat. And nowadays with the LED lights, they're a little bit cheaper and they're just as beautiful as the older lights. They don't require as much energy. So you don't want to take and put strand together, because what that happens is that electricity has to travel farther and farther, and it generates more and more heat. Heat can generate enough to cause a fire. So you don't want to overload your circuits. Again, make sure that you have your GFI circuits, your ground fault receptacles that are functioning correctly. You don't want to put them near water. And make sure if you're putting your lights outside that you have the correct lights that are for outside in case we do get some rain or some weather during that holiday season. We don't want to have any shorting out or cause any fires from that standpoint.
Yeah, you definitely don't want Christmas to revolve around fires.
No.
Or I mean, outside of a fireplace, of course, but my point is disaster. Try to avoid disaster as much as you can during the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday. As I mentioned, my favorite time of the year. I love both holidays, but especially now since I'm living up here. But cottonwoodaz.gov is the website. 928-634-2741 is the phone number. Again, for emergencies, please dial 911, but for non-emergencies, you can utilize that phone number as well. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation about holiday safety tips, including how to properly dispose of ash, with my guest today, Cottonwood Fire Inspector John Wesbrock. Stay with us, Countywide. We'll be right back.
Who doesn't dream of home improvements? Perhaps your kitchen, the real living room. Maybe the bathroom, where you bookend your day. Langstrand Contracting is your one-stop shop from tear down to finishing touches. With 35 years of experience, Chris and his team will work with you to match your family's style and budget. Call Langstrand Contracting today for guidance in bringing your vision to life.
Award-winning Soundbites Grill is an entertainment restaurant located in Uptown Sedona at the Hyatt Pinion Point Resort. Open for lunch and dinner, featuring fresh fish, all-natural hand-cut beef, even a full vegan menu. Family-friendly, open 11:30 to 9, late dining on Friday and Saturday. Soundbites Grill has some of the best views of the Sedona Red Rocks. Offers world-class entertainment, food, fun, and music.
Your carpet is the largest air filter in your home, trapping dust, dirt, and germs from the air that your family members breathe, even the furriest ones.
That's why it's important to keep your carpet and tile clean and hygienic with regular cleanings by Zero-Res. Zero-Res uses state-of-the-art technology and ZR water, not soap or harsh chemicals, so zero residue is left on your home surfaces.
Schedule your appointment today because a clean home is a healthy home. Visit ZeroResNorthernArizona.com.
The mouth is the gateway to the digestive system. Studies indicate a correlation between oral health and full body health. Regular cleanings and checkups can help protect you. New patients are welcome at Arizona Smile Designers in Cottonwood. There's a full smile worth of services all offered under one roof. Whitening and cosmetic to implants and smile reconstruction. Find out more or request an appointment online at azsmiledesigners.com.
Want to welcome you back to Countywide. I am your host, Philip Catalfamo. On today's show, we are talking holiday safety tips. My guest in studio today is Cottonwood Fire Inspector John Wesbrock. In the first segment, we talked about the traveling to for the holidays, along with hiking safety. We also talked about in segment 2, Thanksgiving holiday safety, and touched a little bit upon Christmas. John, everyone's going to be utilizing their heating units, which includes fireplaces, which obviously will produce hot ash. We did kind of talk about properly disposing ash, I think last month, but I want to reiterate that again because it is so important. This is like the second fire season for you guys regarding house fires, and a lot of them have to do with the improper disposal of ash. So please, can we touch upon that real quick? How's the proper way to dispose of that?
Well, I would say that the most proper thing to do is make sure you have your fireplace serviced as we come into the season. You know, make sure you have your chimney cleaned and functioning properly so that you don't have the significant amount of ash in the first place. But once you're enjoying that fire and you need to take and clean that fireplace, you want to take and dispose of those ashes in a tin or metal can. Don't throw it in your regular trash can, because what might be cool on the surface or what might look cool might very well be warm or have significant heat inside still. So you want to dispose of them in a metal tray or an approved ash device. And you don't want to go out and just put it on the front porch. You know, take it someplace. Again, we kind of talked about it when we were talking about frying turkeys. Don't put it on synthetic grass. Don't put it on tall grass. If you have a concrete slab that's someplace out away, set it there or designate a spot. And then make sure that everybody knows where that spot's at. So if you have kids or pets, you want to make sure you have it in a spot where they're not going to touch and play with it and get burned as well.
Right.
So.
Is there anything else, John, before we let you go, regarding whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas safety, traveling, anything else that you want to get out before we head off to the end of the show? You got about a minute.
Yes, when we have all the family visiting us that might not have been to our homes in a long time, you know, we talk about making sure you have smoke alarms that are functioning, working correctly, but we want to talk about making sure that everybody that's staying with you knows how to exit out of your house if there is a fire, if there is an emergency that they need to evacuate, and have that meeting place and make sure that everybody makes it to that meeting place. It makes our job easier, and we can make sure that we're safer and that you're safer in doing that. So, you know, hug, say, you know, appreciate everybody for being there, but then take that 5 minutes to talk about our evacuation or our escape plans and where that fire extinguisher is at in case grandma is cooking in the kitchen where somebody gets distracted. So make sure you have those folks knowing how to get out of those rooms in that house.
Cottonwood Fire Inspector John Wesbrock. John, thank you very much for coming on the show to talk about these safety tips. Great time of the year coming up here real soon. Again, if you have or want more information, cottonwoodaz.gov is the website. Their phone number 928-634-2741. As usual, please dial 911 in an emergency. But that is going to do it for this episode of Countywide. I wish you a great holiday weekend, and we will see you again next time.